You Booked It, episode 219. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Have you joined the You Booked It community yet? It is your go-to entertainment career resource. Inside, you'll have direct access to Broadway performers, Emmy nominees, and people just like yourself navigating this industry. Learn from those walking the walk. Build industry relationships, access unlimited masterclasses, and learn how to book the job more consistently. Join free today. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside. And now, let's meet today's guest. Okay, let's kick off today's episode. I am super excited to introduce my guest today. It is Dana Lynn Barron. Are you ready to dig into this, Dana?
I am so ready, Dane.
Brilliant. Dana is an American actress and voiceover artist known for her extensive work on stage and screen. On-camera career highlights include guest appearances on NBC's This Is Us, Showtime's Shameless, Amazon's Bosch, and FX's Golden Globe, SAG, and Emmy Award-winning The Assassination of Gianni Versace. She also acted in Netflix's Oscar-winning Mank, starring Gary Oldman, and starred in the leading role in the Emmy Award-winning comedy In Passing. This breakout actress also appeared in Aaron Sorkin's Being the Ricardos. Dana, that is a very concise and quick intro of who you are, what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in those gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Well, I'd be delighted to do that.
Beautiful.
I am Dana Lynn Barron again. I am originally from Kittery, Maine, born in a naval hospital. I grew up in San Diego, California, and lived in New York after college for about a decade, and I currently call Los Angeles my home. I have been a performer basically for most of my life, and I am really excited to be here.
Very cool. Love it. Let's dig into this first section here. And Dana, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
I have many quotes that I really love, but I'm going to go with this one. I have no idea who said it, but here it is. I tried to be normal once. Worst 2 minutes of my life. So the reason I like that quote, see, I like that pause there.
It's so good. I was like, is there more? Nope. Yes.
No, that's it. I tried to be normal once. Worst 2 minutes of my life. Okay, where do I begin? I don't know about you or your audience, but I know I spent a good chunk of my life trying to be someone I wasn't, trying to fit myself into the boxes that I perceived, whether they said it outright to me or not, family or my teachers or people in the industry. I somehow in my mind got the idea that I had to be a certain way, act a certain way. And so, long story short, I wasn't just being me, and I wasn't believing that who I was enough, right? So
Yeah.
once it's funny living in New York City when I moved there after college. That's where my 20s felt like graduate school in a way because I was really getting to know myself, and it was messy. It was chaotic. It wasn't just this perfect unfolding of my becoming the young adult that I was, but figuring out who I truly was. Like that was revelatory. That was exciting and scary all at the same time because I realized it was a relief to know that I didn't have to, I don't know, just control the situation as much as I had been for so many years. And it's so freeing to just be yourself. And normal is boring. That's what I want to say. I just want to say normal is boring. And when you have the freedom to just be who you are, be weird, be loud,
Yeah.
be joyful, be all the things. I'm joyful, but I can have my low points too. I don't pretend anymore. That's why I love this quote, because when I can be honest about who I am and where I am day to day, moment to moment, that's freedom. And actors, we need that. Performers need that. Artists need that. We need to be free to be ourselves and stop trying to spend so much time to be what we think others want us to be. The end.
Yeah, yeah. The perception, what we think others, want us to be.
Yeah,
Because ultimately, the reason we book gigs, the reason people are attracted to what we can bring to the table is because of who we are, not because of us mimicking
absolutely.
someone or something else, right?
Oh
It's
my
just being
gosh.
you.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done, right?
Yes. Oh, the
Because,
messaging is fierce in society and in our, it's fierce. We are up against a wall a lot of the time. The
mm,
messages we get from family or from the world, even when it's well intended and coming from a loving space, shall we say,
yeah,
you believe, especially as a kid, I got certain words of support and love, and but the messages were, oh, I get if you say yes, please, and thank you will be praised for behaving well, you know. It's
yeah, right.
like when I wanted yeah, it's hard because in our work as creatives, circling back to it all circles back to that. The artists, I'll speak for myself. My bookings, my successes started increasing tenfold when I began to know myself, like myself, and be myself.
Yeah, 100%. Know yourself, like yourself, be yourself.
Yeah.
Very well said. Love it. Let's move on to this next section here. And Dana, of course, you are an entertainer. I am an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence.
Mm-hmm.
And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there is an outrageous amount of fun and fulfillment and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Oh, I have sometimes I look at my life and the fact that I'm still here. I should have left. I should have, would have left this business like 20 years ago. And in fact, I have some of my peers did leave the business 20 years ago. I couldn't get, so my obstacle, I couldn't get arrested in this business for so many years, you guys. Oh my God. I don't even know how to say. After college, years, we're talking decades, guys, couldn't get reps. And without reps, of course, I wasn't getting the what I call decent, good auditions. No jobs. I didn't book my first primetime TV show until I was in my mid 30s. And I kept going anyway. I know the reason, actually. I was going to say, for some reason. No, I know the reason because God help me. I would ask myself, do you love what you do? And every time the answer was yes. If I asked myself, can you work in an office? Can you go do this instead? There was like this loud no that just screamed in my head. So I
Mm.
kept going. But you guys, I could not get arrested. And I know for me, and I started performing professionally when I was 16, but it was professional, but I still thought, oh, this is a hobby. It's not a career. That was my mindset at the time. But even so, my insides and my outsides just didn't match up for the longest time. So, professionally, anyway, from the industry side, I got people telling me they didn't know what to do with me. I seemed older than I was. I didn't look older, but I seemed older. So it was weird. And I also, struggled with my weight for a long time. And not that I'm in a place now of acceptance of my body and just knowing what a healthy body actually is. But in my youth, I struggled a lot with that, with weight, with body image, a lot of those things. So my insides, though, didn't match with my outsides, but also I was going after this pursuit of these jobs on stage, on screen, but I didn't actually believe in myself deep down. I didn't believe in myself. And yet I kept going. So, what I learned from all of this is I kept going anyway. And what I learned was perseverance and resourcefulness and just having the courage to follow that gut impulse, that intuition that tells you, when you come across something and it may be scary, but there's like a light in you, something lights you up, something's lighting me up about this. So I have to go forward with this. But that's a long answer to the biggest obstacle was like decades of not going anywhere, but feeling utterly compelled to keep doing what I love to do.
Yeah. And I really like how you said, okay, I would ask myself, do I love what I do? The answer was always yes. And I think the big one for me is, can I see myself working in an office or, a regular muggle job, right?
Yeah.
And the answer was always no. And that's exactly how I always felt. Because there are times when you really love what you do, but it's hard, right? It's not rainbows and unicorns all the time, as much as we love it to be. And it can be really challenging and really difficult. And you can
Yeah.
still love it, but it can still be exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
And my biggest thing always through my career is like, I've done regular jobs. I
Mhm.
can do the job well. I can, whatever the thing is,
Yeah.
but I'm like soul crushed. I'm there. I'm like, this is 100% not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
My brain doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work. You know what I mean? And I'm really not good at that. And I know that about myself. So it's also like the alternative. And I could never deal with the alternative. And it's
Hmm.
just not where my mind works, my body works. And that resonated really a whole lot with me because
Yeah.
that's exactly how I feel.
And that's interesting you say because my day job in my 20s was I was a temp. I was a super temp, executive administrative assistant starting in New York. I worked at some major studios, major production companies, and I'm really good at my job. I'm a very capable person. And in fact, related to the period of time when I wasn't getting arrested in New York, I started producing films, short films, and learning that skill. So I was a temp in these offices though, and I was offered jobs. There were several moments that I could have gone down that path
Mm,
easily. But I said, in fact, I'll mention one. I spent some time in Scott Rudin's office in New York, and I was filling in because they were looking for someone for this one particular position, and they offered it to me. And I took a breath and said, I can't give you 200% here. I am flailing right now, but I am trying to be an actor. I acknowledge that it's not like I was getting offers left and right, but I wasn't done trying to build my career as an actor. So no, I can't take this job in this powerful production company. Anyway.
yeah. Yeah, very cool. And to make that decision is also a big decision in committing to yourself. Did you find, or would you recommend, uh so you said you're working as a temp, but you're working for production companies and
Mhm.
still industry related, right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Is okay, if you're striving to be an actor or whatever the thing is, the performer, say, in whatever part of the industry. What are your thoughts on, okay, if you still need to make some money
Yeah.
and finding jobs that are industry related, is that something you recommend people do?
I think personally it's fantastic. Now it depends because I wear a bit of the producer hat still in my life as an actor. So I'm very good and I'm interested in the business side. I've been reading the trade paper, Variety and Hollywood Reporter since I was 18. So I have a natural interest in the business. I have actor friends who are very successful too, who are utterly oblivious about the business. They just couldn't care less. Um, but
Yeah.
I personally think it's phenomenal. Like, I learned so much. I worked when I got back out to LA from New York. Most of my time I floated around Warner Brothers. That was my main home. I was also at 20th Century Fox. But Warner Brothers, I love that lot. And for me, forget about even the office I happened to be working in and the learning things in. One of my favorite things to do was my lunch break. I'd wander around the lot and just soak it in. There was something about even now though, when I see a water tower on a studio lot, I'm a kid. I think I think even if it's for a short period of time, it's so valuable for actors to spend time in a company or at a studio that's part of this industry for the learning aspect of it. But also, just if you feel so often, we can feel so far away from that thing we dream about, that thing we desire.
Mm,
I think it can be very good to have that way to spend time. Like, I was able to walk around the lot and start in my mind. I'd say yes. I'd see a sound stage with a whole set built up. I'd be like, yes, I want that. Yes, and start to feel like, yes, I see myself here. Yes, I see myself when I'm on this lot working as an actor. I was I was starting to visualize my dreams and desires coming true, that being a working actor. I know
Yeah.
also I interned. It's funny. I have to be honest. I don't fully know the state of internships at this point, but I interned at
It's
several
very
casting
gray.
offices. Yeah, but interning at a casting office, oh my gosh, eye opening. So eye opening. And now interns don't tend to make money, so that doesn't help as far as that goes. But I'm a big believer in, yeah, work in the industry however you can, because I started off temping in finance,
Mm.
and that was soul crushing. But in New York, anyway, they love their artists. So I could go off and go to Equity for an audition or whatever. And they were actually far more flexible than the entertainment companies were. But still, I didn't care about finance. I was offered jobs in some of those companies too, big, big global companies. And I thought, I will die if if I accept this
Yeah.
job. I will die.
Yeah, and I really liked how you were talking about the visualization aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
of being on set and immersing yourself into that world. And I think where we see it more often on social media and things like that is that entrepreneurship thing, and
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Oh, go to the car lot and sit in your dream car, whatever that might be." So you can feel that thing. So you can go, "Oh, this is what it feels like," right? But it's the same concept, but I think it's really important to try to make the if you can make your visualization much more physical, it just makes it more real.
Yes, 100% yes.
Cool. Okay. Did you know building industry relationships are the most important assets you need to create a long-lasting entertainment career? And don't take my word for it. Guest after guest here on the podcast have attributed some of their biggest career moments to their relationships. That is why you need to get yourself inside the You Booked It community. You'll learn what you need to do to get noticed, and make sure your headshot stays in the callback pile so you can book the gig more consistently and create a successful career. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside free today. Let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living, or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer in this industry. Tell us about that.
With pleasure. So, this moment was when I realized that I was an entertainer, that this was not a hobby. This was the path I wanted for my life.
Mm.
And this was when I was a student at a summer program, a summer theater program at Oxford University in England. And I was just having the most amazing time in this program, meeting fellow actors from all over the world and just having a great time and enjoying my work. And it was the first time, though, I was starting to realize, and frankly, it was based on feedback from teachers and fellow students. I'm like, oh, I might actually be good. I might
Mm.
actually be a good actor. And then all I know is there was one day during my time there was this beautiful courtyard in the middle of my college, Balliol College. And I was walking across it one day, minding my own business. And all of a sudden, it was like this punch in the stomach. And I started sobbing in the middle of the courtyard out of the
Wow.
blue. And my friend saw me and came over. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm crying and going, I'm going to be an actor. And she's like, why are you crying? I'm like, because I didn't know before.
Oh.
So that's it. That was the
Oh.
moment. And that was the moment I knew too. I'm like, I'm going to tell my family. I'm going to tell everyone who thought it was a hobby, including myself, obviously. But everyone will know that I'm an actor. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm meant
So
to do.
good.
Yeah.
So good. So profound. Love that. Let's piggyback on that real quick and
Yeah.
talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
I'm very excited to share this one because it is my most recent booking, which
Very cool.
was, yes, it was. It was for my movie that's about to come out, which is Aaron Sorkin's Being the Ricardos.
Mm.
Now, it's my favorite for many reasons, which I will now reveal. First of all, it was during COVID. So there's that. I had my self tape audition last February, the very beginning of February. And well, I better tell the whole story. I was about to jump to the end, but I don't want to do that because there's a lesson in this one too, a lesson in this booking. So I did a self tape at the beginning of February. And again, I mentioned it's during COVID. So we're all taking all necessary precautions, hiding out at home, all the things. I nailed this audition. I was one of those things, you know how you get an audition sometimes and you just go, "Oh, this is in my wheelhouse," or "Oh, I just get this story, I get the characters."
Mm.
Of course, sometimes you also look at, "Oh, who's the director, who's in it?" And then you get really excited when you see people like Aaron Sorkin and Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem. So I just loved the whole prospect of the thing. And also, by the way, and maybe it's because of my history doing musical theater and I did all the 30s and 40s shows, I have a real knack for
Mm.
period pieces. And I did last year, I was in David Fincher's Mank. And so I have a knack for this thing too. So I did this audition, felt wonderful about it. And then I did something actors should never do because I was so certain. It was, again, I was like, I am so right for this. If I don't get a call back, I will go insane. So I waited by the phone. I'm using air quotes because all the versions of waiting by the phone, I was thinking about it every day rather than just going on with my life and just doing the other things going on in my life. I couldn't stop thinking about it and it was driving me crazy. And each week went by and I didn't hear anything. And I was getting really depressed. I'm like, how could I not get a call back at least? So I was waiting. And actors, we can't do that. We can't afford to drive ourselves insane like this. We know this. That said, 3 weeks have gone by and I was on a call with a dear old friend of mine. I call her my third grandma because she's old enough to be my grandma, but she's known me since I was 18. And we were talking and she knows me very well. And I was telling her the whole story because I'd been telling everyone this, well, the people close to me anyway, this whole story about this audition. And I should be getting called back. And she's, "Dana, stop it." And only she could say this to me. She scolds me when I need to be scolded, but in this very loving way, someone who knows me deeply. So you have to let it go. So I know, Maureen, I know you. I know I need to move on and not think about it. Just let go. Just let go. And something in the way she said it to me, I was crying. I was very emotional. But that night, I finally let it go, truly. Forgot about it. Slept really well for the first time in a while. The next morning, I got an email from my agent with an offer of the role.
Whoa.
So I say all this because I had the self tape audition and I was offered the role 3 weeks later. No callback, no director
Wow.
session. I was in shock. I'm like, is this a mistake? Doesn't Aaron Sorkin have notes for me? There must be notes. And I know I nailed it, but like, I'm a collaborator. I love the feedback. I want to hear what else he has to tell me about the character. No, you're just hired.
Whoa.
So that is my favorite booked it story.
That is so cool. And when is the movie being released?
It is being released on Amazon December 21st and but it's going to be in theaters starting December 10th.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very cool. I'm excited for that.
Yes. Yes, very exciting.
Beautiful. Let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And, you know, this global pandemic is coming, it's going, it's coming, it's going. How do you
Yeah.
see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Good questions.
Yes, not all easy, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's funny because basically right now, frankly, I am on the press tour for Being the Ricardos,
Yeah.
and it's funny. I have friends who've come before me as far as the things they've experienced in this industry, including doing press for things. This is my first time doing that. So I am busy and on my toes with those activities. Um, Very busy and busy with auditions. And I will say, since this film, even before it's come out, I've just experienced and observed a real leveling up, not just of the number of auditions, but the quality of the auditions, we can
Yeah.
say. Like the offices that have never had me in before are having me in, and bigger roles or more interesting roles and high profile projects, which is very exciting for me. Um, I have a publicist for the first time. And so there's this leveling up happening right now. And there's so much going on that I can sometimes feel a little overwhelmed, but I'm learning a lot. There's going to be a lot of education going on too right now, which is fabulous. And I know
Mm.
when I get on the other side of it, I'm going to be I'm grateful now, but oh, now I know what it feels like to go through a press tour for something, what it feels like to be in rooms with these people I respect and admire and want to be working with and just talking to them, meeting them. It's exciting and scary at the same time, which is the best kind of. I love feeling nervous about something because it to me that's a positive thing. It means I'm excited. It means I'm alive. My energy, like I'm crackling right now. But
Yeah.
there's a lot going on, and I need to take deep breaths every day.
Mm.
No, as far as where I see the industry going and what this means for all of us actors, I just see a lot more opportunities than ever for actors. This has been happening for a while now. Just there are more platforms for us to share our work. For those of us who are creating our own work, there's so many places to do that. Self tapes has been a real revelation, I think. It's funny because my friends who are from, say, London or Sydney, they've been doing self tapes forever, especially when it comes to, say, those actors from those places who are auditioning for American films. They've been putting themselves on tape forever. So I know, and myself included, a lot of us American actors, even before COVID, self tapes were starting to increase, but I had a huge resistance to them for
Mm.
quite some time. But now, what I noted, and again, I know how fortunate I am in many regards, but I will say, during COVID, when things moved to self tapes completely, my audition numbers were through the roof. There were quiet times too, for sure. But once like the industry reopened, I was like slammed with auditions. And these casting directors, for maybe for better, for worse, with self tapes, they can see far more people than some offices only bring in 10 people per role. That was
Right.
my experience pre-COVID. And sometimes I'd be in those waiting rooms going, gosh, we're really lucky because for each of these roles, I can see there's only 10 of us per role. For the casting directors with self tapes now, they're looking at a lot more talent. And that is good because actors who maybe had trouble getting in the rooms before may find, I think, that there'll just be more opportunities. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, very cool. I agree. I agree. Yeah, technology is really is has and is revolutionizing this industry in a lot of ways and hybriding it, and it's really interesting to see, and it's going to be cool to see how it develops.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one
Okay.
after another. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
To be honest, my family didn't understand this as a career choice, nor did I. So I think that was also a blessing in disguise because it gave me all kinds of skills
Mm,
to create my own path,
love
such as
it.
resourcefulness, persistence, creating my own projects.
Beautiful. Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Never stop learning, never stop growing.
Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry took a bit of a pause?
Self tapes are working for me actually, both before COVID and during. And I have to thank, I stayed in class. My acting coach kept his class on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first several months of the shutdown, we focused exclusively on self-tapes, doing amazing scene work and doing self-tapes. And it just made all of us who were in that class together so confident in working the technical part of our auditions as well as the artistic. And I actually love them now. I feel like I'm making mini movies.
Yeah, cool. Fourth question. What is your best resource, whether that's a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or piece of technology you've found is helping your career right now?
It's funny because I'm actually overdue for a reread of this. I just pulled it from my bookshelf again, but I have many times read and reread The Mystic of the Theater, Eleanor Duza by Ava Le Gallienne. I
I
love
have
it.
not read
It's a
that.
go-to. Yeah, it's a must read for any actor.
Okay, writing it down and getting it. Thank you.
Hmm.
And the fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in the industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
I would worry less, slow down, be myself, and know that was enough, that I was enough.
I love that. And know that that was enough, that I was enough. Really love that. And the last question. What is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in the industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. So we all have to stay in shape emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yes, it is a marathon. So good. And to wrap up this interview, Dana, it has come time for you to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Yes. So I'm at DanaLynnBarron.com. I'm also Dana Lynn Barron on IMDb and all my social media platforms. Oh, and I should mention that my middle name, Lynn, is spelled Lyn, just one N. So that's Dana Lynn Barron.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I've put the links to all of Dana's different resources so you can easily connect with her. And also be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, teachers, arts and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in the entertainment industry. You Booked It is the #1 resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful entertainment career. Case in point, everything we got today chatting with Dana. If you liked this episode, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Dana, thank you so much for coming on to the show. It's been so fantastic having you on and getting to know you a bit and having a bit of a chat.
Thank you, Dane. I was so glad to be able to talk to you today. This was really fun.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to join the You Booked It community. Inside, you can connect with your people, build industry relationships, unlock unlimited masterclasses, and access the tools and training you need to create sustainable career momentum. Get your invite link right now. Tap the link in the show notes or head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite, and we'll see you there.